a Pizzaverse Studios original documentary. Haunted America, The Ghost That Never Left. Produced by Bambi Palermo and the Pizzaverse. Every story's got two sides, the one we tell and the one that won't shut up. America, she's a funny dame. We call her young, but look close and she's covered in scars. Every street's built on bones, every foundation's poured over somebody's last breath. We pave, we paint, we pretend. But ghosts, they don't care about pretend. You can't lie to the dead. They know what really happened. From the harbors of California to the fields of Kansas, from the sugar heat of Alabama to the stone-cold walls of Wisconsin, this country's whispering, and tonight we're listening. These are the places the light skips over. A ship that never stops sailing. A little girl's laughter that ain't so sweet. A mansion that bleeds from the floorboards. A house shaped like madness. And a plantation where grief still wears a suit. This ain't no ghost hunt. This is a road trip through the underside of the American dream, where hope and horror share a drink at the same table. So lock the doors, pour the wine, and pray the quiet stays quiet. Because these ain't just haunted houses, kid. They're reminders. Reminders that history don't forget, and sometimes it don't forgive either. From ghost ships to godforsaken farms, from the sweet tea South to the cold Midwest, these are the places America pretends not to remember. We paved over the pain, we polished the brass, we sold tickets. But the echoes, they stayed. Tonight, we're going where history still breathes. The Queen Mary, the ship that never slept. They called her the Queen Mary. When she slid into the Clyde River in 1934, she was the biggest thing human hands had ever built that could still float. A luxury liner for the Cunard Line, 3 city blocks of marble staircases, polished teak and brass that could blind you at noon. They said she was unsinkable, unstoppable, unmatched. Turns out she was unforgettable too. She crossed the Atlantic over 1,000 times, carried Hollywood stars, kings, and the desperate poor, all sleeping under the same sky, separated by a few decks and a few dollars. When war broke out in '39, the glamour peeled off. The Navy painted her gunmetal gray and christened her the Gray Ghost. She hauled 500,000 troops across submarine-infested waters, dodging torpedoes like curses. They stripped out the dance floors for bunks, turned the swimming pool into storage for rations. But a ship that sees that much fear doesn't just forget it. There was one night, the darkest of the war, when she sliced straight through another vessel, the HMS Curacoa, killing more than 300 men. Couldn't stop, convoy orders. She left him in the wake. Sailors said the screams followed the Queen Mary all the way to New York. And maybe they still do. After the war, she tried to go back to being civilized. Repainted white and gold, chandeliers rehung, champagne pouring again. But people said she never sounded the same. The engines had a new rhythm, a heartbeat under the heartbeat. By the time she retired in 1967, even the crew admitted the old girl was different. They docked her in Long Beach, California, turned her into a floating hotel. Tourists lined up for the Sunday brunch and the ghost tours. You can sleep in room B340 if you don't mind knocking that answers itself. Back in the day, a steward died in there, got found sprawled on the floor, and ever since, guests report blankets yanked off, faucets hissing by themselves, and that soft whisper asking, "Are you still aboard?" But the one every deckhand remembers is door 13. Down in the engine room, where the air smells like rust and sweat, a watertight door crushed a young fireman in 1966. Since then, security guards swear they see him, blue overalls, cap on, grease on his cheek, walking that same route before vanishing through the bulkhead. Even the skeptics nod when they talk about him. They all say the same thing. The temperature drops before he shows up. Then there's the pool. No water for 50 years, but people still hear splashes. A little girl giggling, wet footprints leading nowhere. They call her Jackie, probably drowned during the liner's glory days. Infrared cameras caught a blur leaning over the edge. Half light, half memory. Paranormal teams been crawling this ship since the 80s. EVP recordings, thermal scans, full spectrum cameras, you name it. And they all get something. A woman humming "Nearer My God to Thee." A man shouting orders in an accent no one's used in 70 years. A child saying, "Mommy, the boat's moving again." You could chalk it up to air pressure, magnetics, coincidence. But here's the truth, kid. Every wall on that ship heard too many goodbyes. And steel's like people. It remembers what hurt it. They say when the fog's thick enough, the Queen Mary silhouette looks like she's still leaving port. Lights flicker, horn moans low like she's answering the roll call of the lost. Maybe that's her curse. Maybe that's her mercy. Either way, she ain't sleeping. She's out there every night, still carrying the weight of everyone who never made it home. And that's our first port of call. A ship that forgot how to die. Next stop, a Kansas house where the doctor botched the cure and the patient never forgave him. It's small, quiet, and meaner than the ocean. Next up, the Sally House, the child who wouldn't leave, Atchison, Kansas. Population just under 11,000. Pretty little town, maple trees, church bells, porch lights that still mean you're safe here. But not every light in this town burns for the living. One old house on 2nd Street knows that better than most. White siding, green shutters, small as a dollhouse, and twice as mean. Locals call it the Sally House. It's the kind of place that looks harmless till the sun goes down. The story starts in the early 1900s. A doctor lived there with his wife. One afternoon, a frantic mother brings in her 6-year-old daughter, Sally, screaming in pain, holding her stomach. Appendicitis, they say. But the doc panicked, made the first incision before the anesthesia kicked in. By the time the needle hit her arm, she was gone. Some say he wept for days. Others say he buried the truth with her. Either way, the house didn't forgive him. For decades, the place sat quiet. Families moved in, moved out, none stayed long. Electrical shorts, fires, pets gone missing. Kids talking to the girl in the corner. No one wanted to buy, so it stood empty. White paint peeling, curtains yellowing in the sun. Then came Tony and Deborah Pickman, early 1990s. Young couple, new baby, dreams bigger than their bank account. They thought they'd found a starter home. What they got was a lesson in regret. At first it was little things. Lights flickering, toys rearranged, pictures falling off walls. Then it got personal. Tony would wake with scratches down his arms, 3 marks at a time, always 3. Once he said he saw the shape of a little girl at the foot of his bed, smiling 1 minute, sneering the next. Deborah felt cold spots follow her from room to room. Baby toys lit up by themselves. They brought in paranormal investigators. One group watched the temperature drop 20 degrees in seconds. Cameras caught shadows where no light source existed. EVPs captured a small angry voice saying, "Don't." Just that, don't. Like the word was enough. Some say it was Sally's ghost, still scared, still 6. Others think something darker moved in behind her story. That's the thing about hauntings. Sometimes the ghost ain't who you think it is. Sometimes it's what feeds on the story itself. They tried blessings, sage priests. Nothing stuck. Tony said it felt like the walls themselves were alive. Like the air thickened every time he called her name. After 2 years, the Pickmans left. No sale, no goodbye. They just packed up and ran. Since then, ghost hunters, thrill seekers, TikTok adventurers, they all line up like it's Disneyland for the damned. The Sally House is open for overnight tours now. You sign a waiver saying if you get scratched, shoved, or lose your mind, it's on you. And every month, someone still leaves with blood under their nails. You stand in that house long enough, you start hearing the rhythm. Soft knocking from the nursery, a giggle that turns to a growl. There's a smell too, sweet at first like candy, then burnt like ether. Same smell you get when a doctor's scared and a patient's screaming. Some folks say Sally's just misunderstood. A little girl who died afraid, looking for a friend. But if that's true, then why does she only show herself when you're alone? Every haunting's got a wound at its center. This one's shaped like a child's silhouette, small, harmless until it moves. You ask me, she ain't the one who's stuck there. We are. Because we keep coming back, looking for answers from a girl who never got any herself. Next stop, Mississippi. A house built for pride, kept alive by war, and haunted by a man who bled his own name into the floorboards. The McRaven House, the highwayman's haunt. Vicksburg, Mississippi. If you ever been down there in summer, you know, the air's so heavy you don't breathe it, you chew it. Every street corner's got a story, and then every story's got a ghost. But one house, the McRaven House, it don't just have ghosts, it collects them. They call it the time capsule of the South. But this capsule don't stay closed. It leaks. Let's rewind. 1797. The place started as a simple two-room frontier cabin built by a man named Andrew Glass, a thief, a smuggler, a highwayman with more charm than sense. He'd rob stagecoaches, then hide out in the little house on the edge of town. One night, surrounded by militia, he did what cowards do best. He slit his own throat before they could take him in. Legend says he crawled back inside the house, bleeding out on the floorboards, muttering his lover's name until the dark took him. That blood never washed out. And maybe that's why nobody ever really owned McRaven. They just borrowed it. By the 1830s, the place had grown. New owner, Sheriff Stephen Howard, built another section, added grand windows, a curved staircase. His wife Mary died upstairs giving birth to their child. They say she still walks the landing, holding a candle and humming lullabies that never finish. Then came 1849. Enter John H. Bobb, a man who thought he could outbuild bad luck. He added the final section, brick, columns, tall ceilings. But you can't polish cursed ground, kid. When the Civil War came, the house sat right in the middle of it. Union troops occupied the city, Confederate sharpshooters fired from the hills. The dead piled up faster than sermons. During the siege of Vicksburg, McRaven became a hospital. Blood on the sheets, morphine whispers, soldiers dying with rosaries in their fists. They buried him in the backyard when the earth was still soft enough to dig. Next stop, the Octagon House, the geometry of fear. Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. A name that sounds fancy, right? French for bottom of the lake. But this town's got more ghosts than fish. And sitting right in the middle of it, tucked behind trees that lean too close, is a building that don't play by the rules. They call it the Octagon House. 8 sides, 8 rooms, 8 hallways that don't make sense no matter how many times you walk them. Built in 1856 by a judge named Orsimus Cole, one of the state's first Supreme Court justices. A man of law, logic, and symmetry, or so he thought. But symmetry don't mean sanity, kid. Back then, octagon houses were all the rage. They said the shape let in more light, more air, a symbol of progress. Dr. Orson Fowler, a phrenologist from New York, wrote a book saying the eight-sided design improves spiritual harmony and mental health. Yeah, well, so did arsenic tonics, and look how that turned out. Judge Cole took the idea and ran with it. Built his home like a giant compass rose. Every wall angled, every window perfectly measured. He said it'd be his legacy. Instead, it became his echo. The first whispers started almost immediately. Cold spots in summer. Candle flames flickering sideways. Children saying they saw a lady in white floating up the main staircase. The judge laughed, said it was drafts and nerves. But after his wife passed away in one of the upstairs rooms, he stopped laughing. He moved through the house like a man trapped in his own design. Neighbors said they'd see him walk the halls at night with a lantern, mumbling legal arguments to someone no one else could see. One night the lantern light went out, and the judge with it. Heart failure, they said. But the undertaker couldn't close his hands around the gavel. Fingers locked tight, like he was still trying to deliver a verdict from beyond. Since then, the house changed owners more times than a bad poker hand. Each one lasted a little less than the last. They all left the same way, us in a hurry. Visitors talk about disembodied voices calling from different sides of the room. You turn your head, gone. Then you hear them behind you. The acoustics in the house bend sound like glass bends light. You can whisper in one corner and hear it hiss out the other end. Paranormal teams say the octagon's layout works like a spiritual amplifier. All that geometry traps energy, bounces it around till it gets loud enough to talk back. And let me tell you, it talks plenty. They've recorded knocks that answer questions, footsteps on staircases when nobody's moving. And more than one camera's caught that lady in white. Always the same, thin, motionless, watching from the second-floor balcony like she's checking who made curfew. But the weirdest thing? Nobody ever sees her face. Just a shimmer where her eyes should be, like light trying to remember what it's reflecting. People have tried to restore the house, bless it, even seal off rooms. Doesn't matter. The energy stays. Some say it's the judge still walking the halls, arguing with God about what's fair. Others say it's the building itself, alive, thinking, breathing through its angles. And I'll tell you something. I've been there. You walk into that foyer, your compass don't mean nothing. Every direction feels wrong. You start hearing your own heartbeat in stereo. And after a few minutes, you swear the walls are leaning closer. Like the house is listening. That's the thing about places like this. They don't need blood to be haunted. All they need is thought. An idea strong enough to survive its owner. Judge Cole wanted perfection. He got infinity instead. They say if you stand in the center of the house at midnight, close your eyes and say the judge's name 3 times, you'll hear the gavel, and then a voice whisper, overruled. Maybe it's myth, maybe it's memory, but either way, I wouldn't test it. All right, kids, we're heading south again. From geometry to grief, from order to chaos. Next stop, Alabama. A mansion dressed in white that's hiding more than dust in the cellar. Sweetwater Mansion, the elegance of the dead, Florence, Alabama. You ever been there in summer? You know what ghosts feel like? Heavy, humid, hanging over everything. This is old South country, where history don't die, it just gets new wallpaper. And sitting right in the middle of all that faded glory is a house that's been keeping secrets since before the war. They call it Sweetwater Mansion. Built in 1835 by General John Brahan, a war hero turned cotton baron, the place was meant to show power. Greek Revival architecture, 8 giant columns, sweeping porches, the kind of house that made neighbors whisper, old money. Problem is, old money's usually dirty money, and Sweetwater's fortune was soaked in sweat, blood, and grief. The Brahan family built their empire on cotton and Confederate pride. Locals swore the house breathed, sighs in the rafters, groans in the walls. Then came the modern era. In the 1980s, a caretaker named Nancy Jones started living there, keeping the lights on and the dust off. But she wasn't alone. She'd hear footsteps upstairs when she knew she was the only one home. Once, she said she walked into the parlor and saw a soldier sitting in a chair, head bowed, like he was praying. She blinked. Gone. But the chair was still warm. Paranormal teams have investigated Sweetwater more times than you can count. EVP recordings pick up a woman humming hymns in empty rooms. Cameras catch flickers of light, shadows moving against the grain. And the smell, that faint mix of magnolia and sulfur, always drifts through the halls when something's about to happen. Locals say the most haunted spot ain't the basement or the parlor, it's the front steps. Every year on the anniversary of Whedon's son's death, a dark figure stands there at dusk, watching the road. Some say it's the general himself, waiting for news that'll never come. Others think it's the son, still trying to find the battlefield he never left. The truth is, Sweetwater ain't cursed. It's just honest. It remembers what we forget. It remembers the lies folks told to feel proud. It remembers the slaves who built it and the soldiers who died defending it. See, that's the thing about Southern ghosts. They don't just haunt, they perform. They keep telling their side of the story because nobody else will. Sweetwater's a museum of memory, a place where grief dresses up nice, smiles for the camera, and then weeps when the lights go out. You walk through that mansion and you'll feel it. The pride, the pain, the hush of history holding its breath. The mirrors don't just show your reflection, they show what came before you. And if you look too long, you might catch someone else looking back. Even the land around it's got a pulse. People say if you press your hand to the brick, you can feel warmth. That ain't heat, kid. That's memory, the kind that never cools off. So, from gilded ghosts in California to this faded palace of Dixie dreams, we've crossed the map, seen the guilt, the grief, and the glamour. But we ain't done yet. There's one more road left to travel, the one that leads back to us. Because maybe the most haunted thing in America is the people who keep telling these stories. We call it the past, but it's really just a room we ain't cleaned out yet. And every time a floorboard creaks or a shadow moves, it's history reminding us we still owe it attention. Sweetwater Mansion stands proud, but it's cracked. Kinda like the country it was built in. Both built on beauty, both held together by denial. But the ghosts don't deny nothing. They just keep singing. You want to know the truth about haunted places, kids? They ain't scary because of what's in them. They're scary because they show you what's in us. You've been riding shotgun with me through another Pizzaverse road trip through the dark. Haunted America, The Ghosts That Never Left, Part 2. Written, produced, and dreamed up by the boss herself, Bambi Palermo. Directed by Fate, filmed in shadows, edited by Insomnia. If this one gave you chills, good. Means the lights are still on upstairs. Now smash that subscribe like you're paying tribute. Ring the bell so the next ghost story don't sneak up on you. And drop a comment telling me which stop gave you nightmares. And remember, sweetheart, in the Pizzaverse, we don't chase ghosts. We pour them a drink. Let them talk. And make damn sure they leave a tip. Pizzaverse Studios, where legends never die.